Welcome back, and always a delight to have with us our good friend Dr. Paul Kreitz, and he writes a lot of books. He's an author, he's a university professor and president, in fact, Covenant University, and he's with us today to talk about something he's written about and hopefully gives us a good perspective. In fact, you may want to get a hold of him at his website at paulkreitz.com and order the book, A Weapon Called Time. There's a picture of it there on the screen. A Weapon Called Time, and it's one of those practical books that you need to read. Hi, Paul. How you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm doing just great. It's a great day here in St. Augustine, Florida. The sun's shining, and I'm here.
All right, and the birds are chirping.
The birds are singing. They're not just chirping, they're singing.
Hey, Covenant University, tell people about it real quick.
New Covenant University is a university that's raising up the next generation of leaders, both in education, ministry, theology. We have degrees from associates to PhD in leadership, theology, ministry, Christian education, Christian counseling. You can go online to newcovenant.edu.net, and you can discover a lot of great stuff, or just go to my website, paulkreitz.com. And there's a link right there, NCU, where you can go right to the university.
All right, thank you. Well, time. That's the one thing that God gave everybody equal.
well, the only difference between people, Perry, is what they know. And the only distinction between people is how they use their time.
Wow. All right. So why did you write this book? What was your purpose behind it?
Well, you know, for a long time, I thought that money was the most important thing. But a man that's dying, a wealthy man dying in a hospital, is not looking for his next stock market option. He's looking for more time. The man that's running, or the woman running across town to get to their child's play at 3 o'clock and is caught in traffic, does not need a faster car. They just needed better time and bringing order into their time. How you use your time.
All right. So why have you called it a weapon?
Well, a lot of people believe that time is a search. A lot of people listening to us today believe time is a squeeze. If I can just find more time. But time is not a weapon. It's not something that you look for. It is a weapon. When you realize that God's given you and I the same 24 hours in a day, how we fill those 24 hours, how we assign a purpose to our time. The phone rings, Perry, and it's one of your good friends, and they say, "Hey, Perry, it's Saturday morning. What are you doing?" And you say, "Nothing." I promise you they've got something on their mind. They've just taken your block of time or your upcoming blocks of time, and they want to assign it to theirs. If you don't assign a purpose to your time, watch this, someone else will.
Wow, I'm guilty. You're calling it assignment, not a search.
No, there's no such thing as a search for time. You want to know what time it is, look at your phone. It's not a guessing game. There are clocks everywhere. You've got to plan ahead. I want to tell you, if you'll think ahead, you'll be the most brilliant person in the room. You've got to assign a purpose to your time. And that's why I wrote the chapter on chapter 3, A Weapon of Planning and Goal Setting. I wrote down here in the chapter, and I want you to get the book. In fact, if you'll purchase the book from my website, I'll pay the shipping. But I wrote down here, Perry, write your plans in pencil, but give God the eraser.
Okay, so planning your time sometimes gets interrupted.
Well, you've got to know, planning is simply thinking ahead. That's all planning is. And planning is simply thinking ahead on paper. If I have a plan today and I get a call and this changes, I can shift what I was going to do at 10 or 11, perhaps to 1 o'clock, or maybe make it, instead of a lunch meeting, a dinner meeting. Instead of doing this at that time. I'll just blend these things together. It's thinking and preparing. But some folks are reactionary. They're constantly reacting to what life is giving them. You've got to not react, but you've got to be proactive in your planning. And this little book, A Weapon Called Time, tells you how to do that. Okay,
so is it a matter of time management or not?
Well, time is really not a management. It's really not a matter of time at all. It's really a matter of decision making. To operate in time, you've got to understand there is a recipe for success. Decisions decide destiny. Decisions decide destiny. God gave you a will. He gave me a will. And that's why he said, pray, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So we're praying God's will be done in our life. But every day we're deciding, I'm going to eat here, which means I'm not going to eat there. I'm going to make these calls for these people, but I'm not going to call these people. If you're not calling the right people, if you're not eating the right food in the right place, if you're not doing the right things, you're delaying or denying your destiny. Your decisions are determining your destiny. Well, I've just left it in the Lord's hands. Well, I guess if he wants to comb your hair, he'll send angels down to part it. How silly. How silly. God has given you stewardship of this earth. He's given you stewardship of your time. For 18 years, 20 years, he's given you stewardship of your children. He's given you, Perry, stewardship of a great ministry. I don't know whether it's for a decade or 2 or 3. I don't know. But you've got to plan. You can't just wait for next week to get here. You can't wait for 3 months to sit down and figure out if the bills are being paid. You've got to make decisions, and you've got to put them, now follow me, you've got to put them in timelines, time frames. I've got to accomplish this by this date. I've got to accomplish this by noon. The successful person, and please hear me and hear me well, the successful person in life learns how to collapse time frames. They learn how to collapse time frames.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if I want to come to Oregon and I start riding a horse, I'll get there. If I ride in a car, I'll get there a little bit quicker. If I decide to buy a jet plane ticket, I'll get there a lot quicker. We all have the goal of going to Oregon. It's just how quickly do you want to get there?
Okay. Now, I think a key ingredient here is, when do you consult God about your plans? My biggest mistakes is writing things in my daytimer. I still write a planner. I still have a written planner. I don't use a computer. I like writing things down. It helps me to remember things.
I do too.
And, but I've had God interrupt him. I thought I was on his track, found out I wasn't.
And thank God he did interrupt.
Yeah.
Thank God he did intervene.
Right.
The most important time in my life is about 6 a.m. to about 9 a.m. every day. I bring my plans before the Lord. Whatever is in my spirit or that which has come to my thinking through the night as I've rested, I sleep on things from 6 to 9. I bring my thoughts, my time of prayer before God, before human opinion stains them.
Good point. Good point.
And then I'm off running. And I tell God, I said, if you want to pull me back, you better pull hard now, because I'm taking off.
Boy, okay. So I got to take a break here in just a second. I want to deal with goal settings. The scripture does talk about committing your ways to the Lord and he'll bless them, or committing your plans, he'll bless them. It does say your ways and your plans. I thought, well, that's interesting. So I guess that goes back to Proverbs where he says he gives you the desires of your heart. And that usually has two meanings. The desire you have in your heart, he put there, and the fulfillment of that desire he gives you.
I'm going to give you a very key word when we come back after the break about planning and the desires of your heart. A very key word.
All right, let me take a quick break. We'll be right back with Paul Kreitz. By the way, you can go to paulkreitz.com and order the book, A Weapon Called Time. He'll pay the shipping back. There's a picture there on the screen. Again, Paul Kreitz, CRITES.com. It's a great resource, and he'll pay the shipping. And while you're there, check out New Covenant University. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Okay, we're back with our good friend Dr. Paul Kreitz, and again, his website is paulkreitz, CRITES.com. And let me encourage you to go there, and if you haven't ordered the book, get this one. It's called A Weapon Called Time. It's not very big. You can read through this fairly quickly. And again, like most of Paul's books, they're resources. It's not something you'll read and put on the shelf. It's something you will go back to. And if you order it, he'll pay for the shipping. Again, order at paulkreitz.com, a weapon called time. All right, so goal setting, God's plans, your desires, big word. What do you got, Paul?
Well, your mind was not made for storage. Your mind was made for creativity. Let's get that out of the way. Okay. Your mind was not made for storage. It was made for creativity. That's why you've got to put your plans to paper. Remember, God was a planner. He had a plan for Noah and a specific plan for the ark. He had a plan for Solomon to build a temple, a specific plan. The word I told you before the break that's key is specific. When you make plans, they cannot be general. They cannot be generalized. They must be specific because they can't be accountable. You can't be accountable to your plans if they're not. I was standing in a church one day and a guy came to me and for prayer, and I said, "What's your prayer?" He said, "I want to have more money." I reached in my wallet and I gave him $1 and I said, "God's answered your prayer." You have to be specific. What are you believing God for? What are you expecting God for? What is the specific thing? And when you write your plans to paper, right here in my book, you get 3 major benefits. Let me tell them to you. Number 1, it helps eliminate wrong people from your life, out of your schedule. It focuses your attention where it's needed the most, and it helps you to figure out the shortest route to your goal. When I set down a plan and objective, I want to know the quickest, shortest, most effective way to get there. I don't want to mess around with folks that are not a part of that plan or that goal. I'm very specific, and that's the key word to planning.
Okay. How do you discern an interruption being just that, an interruption, or maybe it's God trying to stop you?
Well, I don't believe that God gives me a plan that he tries to stop. Okay. Number 2, I must discern between an interruption and a battle. Okay. If the enemy's trying to battle me, that's different from a distraction or an interruption. Why? Because there's no reward for an interruption or a distraction, but there's a great reward for winning a battle. And I have faced many battles in my 37 years of doing what I'm doing right now. And I have won many, many of those battles. In fact, I say in one of my books, you'll be known by the enemy you defeat or you'll be known by the enemy that defeats you. So God's not going to give me a plan on Monday and then Wednesday try to stop me. If I have learned to get into his presence and get the specifics and write them down. I'm planning a major conference here at the end of the month. Speakers from all over the world are coming in. People from all over the world are coming in to my Increase event. I'm in charge of scheduling who's going to speak. When are they going to follow this person? And I pray, and I have put down a running schedule to give to the media people, to give to the music people, to give to the platform people. Now, can God, on the day of the conference, change some things? He can do whatever he wants to do. But unless I hear differently, we're going to stick to the plan.
Very well said. As a minister, how do you say no with a smile and still exhibit grace?
Like this. Watch, Perry. Watch. No.
Is that a complete sentence?
No.
Okay, well, I get your point. Because it's amazing how many people feel they own your time.
Well, they only feel that way because you're not owning it.
Is there another way you can hurt me without being so? All right. So
I used to have an office. I worked in an executive ministry company, and I always told everybody I had an open door policy. And they came to me at lunch one day and say, every time we come by, your door is closed.
Great. Okay, so what do you tell the person that doesn't just seem to have control of their time? I mean, they just don't seem to have it ironed out. They don't have the plan. I mean, it's another day of the treadmill.
Well, let me tell you, you've got to bring order to your day. You've got to bring order to your day. Disorder, please hear me and hear me well. I love you, but hear me well. Disorder is a robber. Disorder is a thief. It's not just stealing your time. It's not just stealing your money or your energy, but it's stealing your destiny. And God has put you on this earth, and he has a plan for your life. He says, I know the plans I have for you. You need to bring order into your life, even if you just start with one little baby step, one little step today, and begin to bring order into your world. Order your clothing, order your desk, order your kitchen, order a closet, order your car, get it cleaned up, make it look beautiful. I'm telling you, the more you begin to see the order and blessing of God in your life, the more you're going to wake up every day and say, this is the day the Lord has made, and I'm going to rejoice in it.
What do you say to the person that doesn't feel productive? They go home unfulfilled.
Well, I would either say two things. Number one, go see a doctor and see if there's something medically wrong with you. Number two, if you believe you're going to have a productive life by knowing all the top 10 television shows that are on TV, or by just living from point A to point B without a governing goal in your life. Someone listening to us has always wanted to go back to school. It's time to do that. Find a way. Someone listening to us has always wanted to start their own business. Start it on the weekends. I have a pastor friend of mine that goes to county fairs and carnivals and has a little thing that he does, and he loves it. He loves it. He's there every Friday and Saturday and goes back and preaches on Sunday and goes back to the county fair. There are so many opportunities, but you must make a decision. Decisions decide destiny.
So if someone looks at their day and it's not scheduled, it's almost a prescription for disaster, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. If you don't own your time, someone else will. If you don't assign a purpose to the time and the people in your life, you will have the people and your time assigned by others. It's time for you to assign time. You need to say, I need to assign a time. You know, Perry, I even assign a time in my schedule to take a nap.
Really?
Oh, I do.
You got any openings where you work?
I assign a specific time to lay before the Lord.
Really?
I do. And I let everyone know you don't interrupt me. I assign a time for us to have dinner in our home or going out to dinner. And I don't vary much from that schedule, whether I'm eating with my family or we're meeting somebody for dinner. That's the time. I may need to be a little flexible because I learned a long time ago, blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape.
Yeah.
But I have an ordered life, an ordered schedule. As soon as this is over, I have a divine appointment with my 1-year-old granddaughter and her dad and my wife, and we're going to go eat some lunch. Wow. Here on the East Coast.
All right, Paul, great book, A Weapon Called Time. Sum it up. What do you want people to do to get from this conversation?
Time is not an excuse. Quit cursing what God has created in your life. You have 24 available moments each day. God has blessed you with this. Look at the alternative. Look at the option. Go to the nursing home. Believe me when I tell you, God has given you a great opportunity. Turn time into a weapon. Make time work for you instead of you working for time.
Beautifully said. All right, let me just say to our viewers and listeners, you can go to paulkreitz.com and hold up the book there, Paul. There it is. It's called A Weapon Called Time, and we have a picture of it on the screen by Dr. Paul Kreitz. If you order that book through his website, he'll pay the shipping to you. And I think what you'll find out of this is not only a resource for yourself to get scheduled and get going, but you'll end up referring back to it and sharing it with others. I'm amazed. I am amazed of how many Christians are not scheduled or their day is not ordered. And I don't mean to be critical here, but it just, to them, that's spiritual. What would you say to that?
I do not want to say anything to that.
Well, you're going to go have lunch. My day's just starting. Well, anyway, it's amazing to me. I have been very reluctant, Paul, to move over. Even though our whole ministry now is involved in the digital world, I personally don't digitize my calendar, excuse me. I stay on a written calendar so I can see it. I don't know, is that good or bad?
No, I do the same thing. Call me old school or whatever, but I just like the feel of I have a carry-along calendar, and I write notes in it, and I write notes to myself, and I know I can speak into my phone, and I put notes on my phone as well. But I just like looking at that because it allows me sometimes to look at the big picture.
Well, Paul, you're a delight and an inspiration. I don't know, you writing anything new? You got anything else coming up?
I've got a new book coming out in 2 weeks.
What is it?
Ministry Moments. And
that is?
It's a book for ministers, a book for leaders to how to work with people and how to work in the ministry. The ministry is very complex today, but it'll be out in just 2 weeks.
Oh, I look forward to talking to you about it. Does it deal with the word no?
Let me say it again, Perry. No.
Hey, Paul, and by the way, thanks for your text the other day. I appreciate it. Thank you, brother. All right, paulkreitz.com. Check it out, the book called A Weapon Called Time. We'll see you next time on Focus.